What's going on, Neon Nation, and welcome back to the Neon Arcade for some more Cyberpunk 2077 news. Today we're going to be going over CD PROJEKT RED's plans in regards to balancing the Witcher games with Cyberpunk 2077, some clarification over alleged first-person only cutscenes, some stunning new character renders, and all the new developer answers from the Tumblr Q&A and the deep dive developer panel. First up, I've been getting a ton of questions regarding Cyberpunk 2077 and supposed information that there are no more third-person cutscenes in the game. This information has come to light after a user asked the Cyberpunk 2077 Facebook page if there were still third-person cutscenes, to which the Cyberpunk 2077 page responded with yes, cutscenes are in FPP as are scenes featuring a specific extracurricular activity. Now this spread like wildfire on the internet and was fairly being reported by media and YouTubers that there were no longer third-person scenes at all, like we saw in the 2018 demo where female V gets out of bed and talks to Jackie. Today, however, Marcin Mamet, the global community lead for CD PROJEKT RED, said this: "Achieving full immersion in an FPP is extremely important, and the decision made by the team to go 100% first person in Cyberpunk 2077 is something that will benefit greatly from gameplay and storytelling perspectives." He goes on to add to the Twitter thread by saying players will still be able to see their characters in the inventory screen, during driving sequences, in mirrors, and very occasionally in some of the cutscenes. Essentially what this means is that nothing has changed since 2018. We already know that triggering dialogue with NPCs doesn't pull you at a first-person perspective, and combat and gameplay revolve solely around FPP. We can only trigger a third-person camera angle whilst in vehicles, but this is something we've known for a long time now. Essentially what this means is don't freak out about the removal of TPP cutscenes, they're still there. Are they less pronounced? Maybe, but based on what Marcin has said, this is far from there not being TPP cutscenes at all. I hope this does clarify things for you guys, and I'll be keeping an eye on anything that develops here, as I don't think CDPR's communication has been the greatest on this subject. Nevertheless, I'm glad cutscenes where you can see your character have not been scrapped. I do want to mention when it comes to the character creator, which looks simplified in the deep dive demo compared to the 2018 demo, is not indicative of the final build, and they've actually expanded the options within the creator. Not sure why they chose to show off a version where it looks like they've removed options, but it's been publicly stated that we will have more, not less options. Next up, let's get into some of the brand new details from the deep dive developer sit down with CDPR that followed the actual gameplay video we saw a couple days ago. When it comes to vehicles, they will have a large variety of them, mainly following the four artistic styles of entropism, neo-militarism, neo-kitsch, and kitsch. Cars that subscribe to entropism are mainly for function and will get you from point A to point B. Luxury vehicles scream power, money, and corporate prowess. Philip Weber also mentions that there are some surprise vehicles that he doesn't want to show, and that there's also something very near and dear to his heart. Super high echelon people will have access to flying cars, and there will be story moments where we'll be riding inside them. When it comes to developing the world of Night City, they actually hired real city planners to help make the world feel more organic, natural, real, and alive. Points of interest will be shown in different ways, and each district will have specific fixers who can delegate you missions and tasks. CDPR created a brand new open world team after the Wild Hunt to fill this lively world with meaningful details and activities previously unseen in their past titles. Simple tasks and mercenary missions will reveal a lot about the world and will tie in with the lore. When it comes to life paths, each start the game in different ways and will be introduced at different times in their life. All life paths will be introduced to Johnny and the chip he's housed on. These life paths will be relevant to the whole game and will unlock side branches and dialogue specific to either the Street Kid, Nomad, and Corpo life path. Paolo Sasco mentions that if you have a Corpo background, you might unlock certain options with Meredith Stout, potentially hinting at romance options. You'll also have the freedom to deviate from the life path slightly. For example, Weber mentions having a Street Kid origin story, but shifting to more of a corporate styled character based on your decisions. When it comes to creating your characters, there are 3 levels of complexity. The first layer are your attributes, followed by skills and perks. Attributes are your core characteristics, while skills are your proficiencies. A specific skill mentioned by Paolo Sasco is Cold Blood, which allows you to survive in tough situations. The skill kicks in when you're taking too much damage by boosting your own damage output. Cold Blood kicks in thanks to your cool attribute and opens up new perks and proficiencies. For example, Athletics is a skill that helps you move dead bodies, but you're normally very slow when moving them. There is a perk, however, you can layer on top that lets you run with the bodies. Just for clarification, your cool stat is not style based and is more to do with how cool you are under pressure. Miles Tossed also hinted at a feature which may allow you to transfer stats to whatever article of clothing you think look better from the ones that are better stats wise. This isn't something explicitly stated, so this is just my assumption, so take it with a grain of salt. When it comes to Cyberwear, you'll have the entire menu section dedicated to slots for cybernetics. You can replace your legs with cyber legs for a double jump, and even upgrade them to make them more silent when double jumping to help your stealth playthroughs. You can go over your body and replace limbs and human parts with cyberware as you see fit. Some of these larger cybernetics are installed by Ripper docs, for example the Raven Micro Cybernetics control system for the flathead, but you can also upgrade yourself with smaller augments. Shards will allow you to test out cybernetic skills and powers, so you can figure out if it's right for you before slicing up your arm and replacing it with steel. You can gain access to different types of cyberware as your street cred value goes up and more vendors become accessible. Moving on to character classes, if you play as a netrunner, you won't be pigeonholed into stereotypical stealth hacker playstyles. You can be a combat netrunner who uses a nanowire to hack enemy implants from a distance, you can boost your cool stat up and slip through the shadows, or you can just upload malware to all of your enemies, causing them to commit suicide in a variety of ways. It's up to you, and CDPR doesn't want to punish you for the playstyle you choose. NPCs may suggest a certain method of completing a mission, but again it's up to your discretion. Every character will also be able to go through the game non-lethally. You'll be able to spare bosses like Sasquatch, and that might have ramifications later down the line. When it comes to solos, again you won't be forced into a playstyle. You can choose a purely brute strength solo, a movement and agility based solo, or some hybrid version of both. Powell mentioned sliding around with the katana and slicing and dicing your enemies as being particularly fun. Techies largely use a spider-bot drone known as the Flathead, which follows commands to manipulate devices, engage with enemies, and there are certain customization options attached to it. When it comes to weaponry, the panel mentions a handgun that increases the rate of fire as you use it, with each bullet doing more damage, an anti-cyborg handgun that heats up to shoot away cyborg limbs, and an 8-barreled shotgun. There are a ton of melee weapons, even as simple as broken bottles and knives, which are also throwable. There are many different types of katanas, and if you want to use your fists, you'll be able to do so with the gorilla arm augments. When it comes to weapon customization, you'll be able to give them paint jobs and mix and match attachments. Mr. Stud was also referenced by Paolo Sasco, confirming its existence in 2077. Having a cyber deck is also integral to netrunning, and Demon Software programs allow you to quick hack your enemies' implants. Next up, we have some brand new character renders from CDPR, as yesterday they released some new cosplay guides featuring Militech agent Meredith Stout, Dexter Deshawn, and the Trauma Team Medic. Starting off with the TT Medic, I love the updated look and the red accents that they've added. I think the original models were a little flat and didn't really pop, and I know it's following the aesthetic of the structure of uniforms applied to the more corporate characters, but visually I love the red they've added. Meredith Stout seems to have visited her local Shoppers Drug Mart and picked up a do-it-yourself dye kit, as her hair is a slightly different color, and Dexter Deshawn looks similar to his 2018 model. There's a cool little Easter egg detail on his shoes as they feature the Witcher medallion emblem. Next up, we have a few details from the Tumblr Q&A. When asked about ragdoll effects in the game, Miles Tost mentions that they aim for good physics simulation and to have enemies die in a believable manner. Enemies will quote-unquote dance when peppered with bullets. According to Miles and Philip, the hardest part of making Cyberpunk is creating a believable world in a different version of the future. Questions like how people live, what technology is present, and advertisements and branding were particularly time-intensive. Their inspiration for vehicles comes from real-life cars, sci-fi movies, and cars from the past, and extrapolating how that could look in 2077. Cars are still fuel-based with Chew 2 powering many vehicles, and the world hasn't fully subscribed to the idea of electric cars. Next up, we have details on the future of CDPR, as they've come out and stated that they're adopting a dual franchise model with The Witcher and Cyberpunk going forward. In an earnings report from CDPR, Piotr Nilubowicz states, quote, "The company believes that maintaining the observed growth dynamics and expansion of its activity profile will depend on further enhancement of its world-class video game development skill set and on maintaining effective communication channels with the global gaming community. Managing two separate major franchises, The Witcher and Cyberpunk, along with several independent development teams, enables the company to conduct parallel on several projects and smoothens its long-term release schedule. This is great news for fans of CDPR and the Witcher franchise, as this shows the growth they're experiencing is enough that they have the resources to adopt this dual model. Expect CDPR to aim to stagger their releases so we get more games to play sooner, whilst retaining the CDPR-esque quality they've become known for. Thanks for watching, guys, and for more Cyberpunk 2077 and CD Projekt Red, join Neon Nation by subscribing to the Neon Arcade.